Alright guys, before we jump into this video, I do want to give an apology. I was having some camera microphone issues. The audio for some of these clips is only going to be coming out of the left speaker. Trying to use a wireless microphone, had some issues, trying to make the channel better and stuff, so sometimes you mess up. I don't want to throw this footage away because it's the only shots I have of this. So, sorry for the inconvenience, but continue with the video.
What's up guys, my name's Seth, you're watching Petrol 360, and today it is finally to get the ugly off of this truck and rip off some of this blue. Alright guys, now we're going to try to make this 66 F100 actually look decent. So the paint on this truck is boat paint. That's what the previous owner said he painted on here when he was in high school, and I don't know what that means. But the factory code for this truck is Marlin Blue, which is my absolute favorite color. It's the color we may end up going with on my dad's 64 F100. But this blue is garbage. It's just, I hate it. It's bland, it's just nasty. Originally, if you've watched the other episodes, the grill and everything was black and this blue do not go together. So I do not want to paint this truck. This body is toast. There's so many rust holes, dents, and it's not even worth really trying to save. There are much better trucks out there. So what I'm going to try to do is just make it look better. That doesn't mean paint. That means we are going to remove paint. We are going to try to patina this truck and make it look as natural as possible. I really don't like fake patina. In fact, I kind of despise it, especially when we go to car shows and I watch people, who've done kind of this process. I usually hate it. So I've got some techniques and to do some different things to try and make it look more natural. There will be real rust on this, not that, painted on rust or anything like that. So let me dive in here and show you kind of what I'm going to be using. So yeah, here is the test panel itself. If you can tell, it does have some shine to it, perfect amount of shine, but you can see where some overspray was on the truck before, where they just didn't sand everything back flat. We've got some white there. We've got spots where there used to be old mirrors on here. And apparently this truck came with trim because we can see all the dent marks where that trim used to be. And like I said, I am taking this back to bare metal in some spots, and those will eventually kind of rust, which I'm perfectly fine with. This, like I said, this truck is pretty rough around the edges. And then I'm not 100% sure what I'm gonna do with the bed, but I have been testing some spray paints to see how well they match, trying to find what color this actually is. And for reference, this is Marlin Blue. This is Marlin Blue that I got at the paint shop when I was painting the air cleaner, and I sprayed a little bit right here just to see what it was going to look like compared to this, and you can see just how big of a difference it is. I really wish it was still this Marlin Blue, but we have, and luckily we have white underneath it, so we can probably make this thing look pretty good overall. Okay, and as we go through this, some of this stuff may make sense, some of it may not. Underneath this blue coat is white, and underneath the white is actually bare metal. I don't know, this Ford should have been Marlin Blue from the factory, but there's no Marlin Blue left on it. I think somebody restored this maybe in the 70s or something like that, because the interior has been painted as well, but I don't know what happened to the outside. But I got lucky and there's white underneath this blue, and that looks really good for patina. So obviously the first thing we're going to do is try to take off as much paint as we possibly can. I did get an air DA because I'm going to be wet sanding. I have an electric one, and I just don't feel like using that and getting electrocuted. So I went out and got this. I have some wet sanding paper to go on this. I think this is like 400 up to like 1200 grit, which should be fine. And I also have an interface pad, and all this is a foam pad that's much softer, that's going to go between the sander and the sandpaper, and that helps go over some of these contours so it doesn't have such a hard bite. I'm going to burn through these edges as quick, that's okay. That's part of the point too, but we're going to try that and see what happens. So once we go through and knock all this down and kind of get most of the paint off where we want it, we're going to come back and we're going to buff it to get the shine back in it. And I haven't used this product. I was going to my local paint shop and they had it, and kind of told them what I was doing. They're like, yeah, this is probably what you want to use. So this should be able to cut pretty good and get the scratch marks that I put into it out, as well as leaving a little bit of a shine. I do want shine, but I don't want it to, be a mirror finish or anything like that, because I don't think we're going to get this to a mirror finish. But the biggest thing, honestly, that he was talking about is that this product, this Wizards, is actually water-based. So I should be able to wash this stuff off when I'm done. The other compound and stuff I use just tends to stay on there, and it's really hard to fight off. And I did go ahead and get a decent wool pad from them, and just going to be using Harbor Freight Buffer. So this last one is a little bit of a test. This is definitely not normal, but I have some paint stripper. So there are certain spots that I want to take off all the paint. I want to make it look like the paint actually failed. Up here in the hood, in these ridges where water sits, you always get rust along here on the edges. In fact, I've got some rust right here already growing. So I'm going to do that to try and take off a lot of paint in those areas, but I also want to make this truck look like it was sitting in someone's garage for a long time. And I don't remember where I saw this before. I think Vice Grip Garage, his American flag Chevelle has paint marks on the trunk where somebody had put cans of paint and sat there for 10 years or something like that in somebody's garage. So I'm going to try to simulate that, and what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to paint aircraft stripper on the bottom of this and set it on the hood and walk away. And I'm going to do it with a spray paint can as well, and then I might mist some overspray on those spots to try and make it look like this thing was, you know, sitting somewhere and people had crap all over it. And, you know, just the whole point of patina is just to tell a story, and we're just adding more layers onto that story. If you just take paint off, it just doesn't look right to me. So we're gonna go a step above and beyond with this stuff. And so for those non-believers, here is my test panels. I did this when I first got the truck. I wanted to see what was underneath this horrible blue because I knew it was not gonna stay. So I took some 1000 grit and took this all the way down. I used some heavier grit and hand sanded some spots, try and give it some texture, which I really wasn't able to buff out the finish, but this is pretty much the look I'm going for. Try it to anywhere where the sun's gonna be hitting on it, so these top edges, you know, it's gonna keep it dark down here, lighter up here, lighter here. Eventually this is gonna get nice and faded back, but you know, you gotta think about how this thing is gonna wear. It's gonna wear from the sun and from road grime and stuff, so anything that's facing up should get the most patina, and then the stuff like down here probably really won't get any. And I probably won't touch the doors for a while because I've got some ideas, but we'll get to that later. Okay, so I guess the first thing, since it's going to take the longest, is we're going to hit it with the paint stripper. So what I did was take a Scotch-Brite pad and scuff up the areas where I'm going to put the paint stripper. So back here in these corners where the body lines sit, their water tends to pool up there, and so what will happen is those spots will rust over time. As you can see, I already have a little spot lifting the paint, and there's rust underneath it. I also scuffed right here because this is where I'm going to set my cans. You know, just do 2 and we'll go from there. The key for doing this, any kind of fake patina, is just enough. You know, you want to add lots of layers and lots of different things because that's what makes a patina, but you have to know when enough is enough. I thought about dripping some paint down here and stuff, but I'm going to hold off because that may just be too much. So I'm going to apply some stripper at the bottom of these cans with the rag, and then I'm going to paint on in all these spots and go from there. And the reason I hit this with the Scotch-Brite pad is this does have a gloss sheen on it, and this outside of this paint is pretty hard, so scuffing it up will just help the stripper work a little bit better. All right, so here lies the point of no return. Oh yeah, it's all worth it in the end, right? Tell you what, just gonna leave that there. Okay guys, it's the next day. We've had all this stuff sitting overnight, and as you can see, let me zoom in here, we do have some paint lifting. So it looks like that worked out pretty well. In our corners here, you can see we've got lifting marks. I left the rag right here on purpose. Got a bad spot there, and a lot of that stuff is lifted. So it looks like that actually worked out perfectly. So, well, I guess I can go ahead and, oh yeah, that is exactly what I wanted, honestly. So, sweet. So I've got those on there. I did this test panel last night, and after I did it and started thinking about it, I'm going to change up some stuff. I started with 220. I think that was too aggressive. I'm definitely going to wait until I can use the pneumatic sander so I can put that interference pad, that 6-inch foam pad, to help smooth it out a little bit. Because you can see over here, I did this by hand, and see I was able to get this blue super thin so it changes to a much lighter blue. I don't have that here. It really just cuts way down into the paint, so a little bit around these edges, but I really want to feather this out more. There's some lighter stuff up here, but the idea is I want to feather this out. This is too harsh, but it's definitely some good lessons learned doing this panel, so I'm going to wait until I can use the pneumatic sander and maybe start with 400 and then slowly work my way up, because there are still some scratch marks that a quick buff wouldn't pull out, so I want to try and not add as many scratches as I can, because I do want it to have a nice sheen to it when it's done, and I don't want to see swirl marks and scratch marks. So that's a pretty good start for the Patina. There's a lot more to go, obviously, but this is a really good test run with that, and this worked out perfectly, so we're in a good spot. All right, and here's where we're at. I took this with 220, then 400, 600, and all the way up to 800. And of course, it's not perfect. There's still stuff down here, some texture and everything, but it is much flatter, and it's actually pretty good. The nice thing about doing the Patina this way is you do the entire panel, even though you don't want the entire panel to be your under color. But this smooths everything out, so when you buff it, it's nice and smooth, and it actually looks like it's a decent paint job. So that's one plus, because this stuff it's not really orange peel, it's just, it did not lay flat. It's very textured. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and buff this out, but I'm losing light to film, so I guess maybe you guys will see it tomorrow. Fingers crossed, and I'm going to jump on Amazon and order the correct sanding pads.
Really appreciate you watching. Sorry again about the audio. You know, it is what it is. I'm always trying to improve myself and make the video quality better, and the wireless microphone seems like the right way to do it, but we're just having issues with that one this way, so I'm not using it again. Right now I'm back to using on-camera audio with a shotgun mic. Seems to be working out pretty well. It's not perfect, but for right now it's gonna work. So Again, thank you for watching this. Hope you guys like the fake patina. There's going to be more to go on with that later episodes. But the next time, we're going to be wheeling it back into the garage and getting going on the rear end of the truck and the 5-speed swap. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.